Welcome to Beyond Tech, where innovation meets insight. I'm your host, Jackie Slatt, and today I'm joined by a special guest co-host, Senior Program Engineering Manager, Chris Hunter. Today, we're talking with some of our team members about how they found their way into careers in automation and controls. Quick question, did anyone think they would end up working in system integration or the automation and control field when they were growing up? Yeah, one of the things that makes system integration so interesting is that there's no single defined path into it. Most people don't go to school specifically for automation or system integration. Instead, they find their way here from a wide range of backgrounds and experiences. Looking around this group, we've got a great mix of early career professionals, career switchers, and seasoned experts. So to get started, I love to have each of you introduce yourselves, share your name, your title, and a quick 30-second version of how you ended up here at eTech Group. I will start with you, Chris.
Hey, so Chris Hunter, Senior Program Engineering Manager for the Colo team. We do data centers on our team. Stanley and Jordan are on that team as well. I've been here for 8 years or so, give or take. My degree is in electrical engineering, and I kind of got here accidentally. I needed a job out of college and took one of the first ones that was offered to me. And automation is always hiring. And had no intention of doing this. I had no desire to be an automation engineer. I thought I was gonna, invent something or save the world, or I don't know, any all the things you think of when you're getting out of college, and then you realize, oh no, I have to pay the rent. I need a job, and took a job, and it was only temporary. And 20 years later, here I am.
I feel like that's similar to myself. I've accidentally fallen into many jobs. But Jordan, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but can you introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. Jordan Long, engineering manager for the Mission Critical Colo team, reporting to Chris. I've been with eTech for close to a year, a little bit over 11 months now. Come from a systems integrator that I was at for roughly 8 years, doing very, very generalized automation. So different, very much so different from mission critical and data center specific, industry. And so didn't expect to find myself here. I needed, I found general automation through my internship that I started while I was in college. I didn't even know what a PLC was at that time, and the rest is history. It's stuck ever since. Been happy to be here for as long as I've been, for 11 months now. So yeah.
It feels longer. Just so we're all clear, it feels so
Yeah.
much longer.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun. What do you do? It feels like a week now.
That's not where I was going with that. But okay, sure.
My name is Kyle Van Druden. I'm a group engineering manager here at eTech Group as well. I focus more on the CPG, food and beverage side of things. I've got a wide berth of experience with eTech Group in a lot of different industries. Again, most of my experience has been specialized in CPG, food and bev. I've been at eTech now for 10 years. I have a degree in electronics engineering technology, and that was more or less my background: AC circuit analysis, DC circuit analysis, doing more of the technician level side of things. Really how I got here, similar to most people, was just on a whim. I found out about eTech Group through a mutual colleague, and I applied. And I came on as a co-op, and I have worked my way through the ranks and through experience to get here. I didn't necessarily want to be here holistically either. I thought that this was going to be a stepping stone, but I recognize the opportunities for travel, get to see the world, get paid to see the world, and it's been a great experience so far.
And what about you, Stanley?
So I'm Stanley Verghese. I'm a group engineering manager on the mission critical co-location team, reporting to Chris. Very similar to Jordan, going on close to a year. I started last year in October, so not quite there yet. But I actually started out as a chemical engineering pre-med major, and I did all things pre-medicine. And I was taking my MCAT and realized I did not want to go to school anymore for a long time. So, I started my career out in upstream oil and gas and did a few odd jobs along the way. But one of my favorite classes in college was actually process controls. It was much later that I realized that process controls engineering in the chemical engineering sense is quite different from being a control systems, integrator. But I realized I didn't like working in a chemical plant day to day. So I found an SI that was based out of the Dallas area, and they didn't require any experience, which is where Chris also comes from. So I was there for about 8 to 9 years and gained most of my automation experience there. And I knew that I wanted to get into the data center space, and so I applied to an opening, and it was a good fit. So here I am.
Well, I appreciate everybody's background. It's always one of the great things about my job is interviewing people and finding out how people get into the automation space. And some of them have no clue what they're doing and, no clue why they are doing it. They just interested in what's going on over there. Jordan, you have you went to Purdue, right?
I did. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So take a moment, pause on that. And then,
Very proud.
yeah, but I guess I'm interested. Did you always know this is what you want to do while you were in school? Determining whether or not you're going to work on trains or go into automation, I guess.
Yeah, well, no, not at all. I hear electrical engineer and I think I'm going to be sitting in a lab soldering or, hooked up to an oscilloscope for, 10 hours a day. Didn't once think that I would be, doing what I do now. Like I said before, didn't even know what a PLC was. And I think that's something that's really, really worth noting is that this sort of automation is everywhere. It's really the only way that the world works and the way that we get consumer goods and all that we have in our home around us, but we're not privy to it, heading into it. So needless to say, didn't have a single thought that this is where I would end up. But I'd say it's a great culmination of all of what you learn. And in my opinion, it's been the best way to take what I've learned and apply it and see real world, consequence. I don't want to say consequences in a bad way, but seeing, real world effects and, positive outcome.
And then, you and Stanley came from, either other industries or competitors or whatever, and transitioned into a different space. So Stanley, you and I talked during your interview process. You're a little different than Jordan. Jordan was looking for a different opportunity. You were looking to get into kind of what we're doing. What made you, want to jump to our team from a larger company, a prestigious company, to us to do a specific process?
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen eTech, just over the past few years, and as I was researching, top companies in the data center space, eTech was pretty close to the top of that list. I would say at the company I was at, which ultimately became Rockwell Automation, big company, I had inquired about opportunities to break into the building automation space. But as you're probably aware, just coming from the Maverick Technology side, we only had a couple of data center projects. And so in recent years, it became difficult to get involved in the data center space being under the Rockwell umbrella. So it didn't seem like it was going to happen. And so former colleague from Rockwell, she was at eTech and she recommended eTech. And so as I was narrowing down my choices, eTech was like the clear winner for me. And so, I like the work that we've done and the work that we're going to do.
And I guess, Kyle, I'd kick it to you. So you've not changed, you've not transitioned. You've started as an intern. I guess do you even remember so long ago what you may have wanted to do before you took this job?
Yeah, I mean, to be transparent, I didn't at the time. A lot of my focus in college was more geared towards the technician level side, doing like PCB design and troubleshooting. And towards the end of college for me, I kind of figured out that wasn't the direction I wanted to go. I took some computer science courses while I was in college, really enjoyed the programming aspect of things. Granted, it wasn't PLC based, it was more structured, like Python. Python's an easy way to get into it. And seeing the bridge between standard computer science oriented programming to PLC automation there's a lot of parallels there. I found that automation was a growing industry. And for me, like I said earlier, it was the first job offer I got. And I was like, you know what? I'll try it, see if I love it, see if I don't. And I really, really enjoyed it. Holistically, like when I think back 10 years ago when I started, a lot of people that eTech was hiring were mostly in the electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, or computer science based. Again, all the parallels between all of them, everybody kind of ends up in this industry in one way or another. Systems integration is a incredibly exciting field because everything's ever changing. Everything's super fun. We get to work with new technologies all the time. The project variance creates a challenge that is exciting and enjoyable. For me anyway, I think it is, to whereas, you end up in a company that does one thing holistically over and over again, your breadth of knowledge and your variance of work tends to be a little more limited. And to me, that always seemed like maybe the end goal at first was to get involved in one of those. But now that I'm in here and I love it still, I'm 10 years in and I don't have any intention of getting out of the systems integration side. Specifically, I don't have any intentions of leaving eTech. Why I've been here for 10 years. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it really feeds into all of I speak I'm just gonna speak for all of us when I say it's a really nice way for us to feed the dopamine hits that all of our ADHD requires at
correct.
all times. Just the change every day something different. Every day a new problem presents itself, and it's the only way that I am able to get out of bed in the morning is to know that the world is on fire around me. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think the other thing to mention too is everybody discovers this industry in a different way now than it was 10 years ago. And I know we've all been tenured employees
mhm.
within the integration field, but I mean, there are programs out there that are more geared from a college perspective to get you involved in PLCs. I mean, specifically like the mechatronics aspect of things that didn't exist when I was in school. The college I went to offered a mechatronics program the year after I graduated. And I think now there are more entries into this field that there weren't when we all started.
Yeah, there's certainly more direct paths. I know that there when I think I'm a little older than you. I know when I was in college, and even some folks that predated me, there were pathways to get in, to get, specifically trained or background on programming, PLCs, process control, stuff like that. But there are certainly more now.
Yeah.
But that's, someone coming to the market doesn't necessarily have to do that, right? And I'm not, when we hire people all the time. We're not necessarily always looking for someone that fits, has that background, has that degree. We got some electrical, we got some, we have the undereducated and Stanley here who only wanted to be a doctor. You know, we have multiple different backgrounds. There's no one background here. So is there a skill set or something people should be striving to get? Maybe they don't have that key background. And I guess I'll open it up to the group. Like Stanley, is there something like you manage people, something you're looking for in interviews from an employee that maybe doesn't have the standard degree?
I'd say just a willingness to learn, having a good attitude. Like my thing is I leave my ego at the door and I don't assume I'm the smartest in the room all the time. I mean, sometimes I
That's
do,
a
but
good
not
assumption, by the way.
but not all the time. I mean, that's the only way you'll grow. If you're surrounding yourself with people that are better than you, not necessarily in all ways, but at least in some ways. At least that's my approach to it. And so when I'm meeting new people, it's not what I can teach them always, but it's like what can I learn from them. And so
Absolutely.
that's why I'm always asking questions. Chris says like I ask a lot of questions. I mean, no shame. I love asking questions. So being curious, inquisitive, and having a good attitude, and then just learning how to deal with people because at the end of the day we're dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. We're providing a service, so really understanding people at the end of the day I think makes for a successful person in this industry.
In all the conversations I've had throughout this podcast, I think we've asked this question on the podcast before and in other ways throughout eTech Group, but like what you need as a skill for engineering and being open to always learning new things is like the number one answer that every single one of you guys gave me.
Yeah, a hundred. Coming out of college, so you may have a desire. One day, I would love to be a PLC guy, or I'd love to be an HMI or a process guy, or whatever. The best PLC guys have a background in everything else. They know SCADA, they know process, they know everything else. The best process engineers understand how that process interacts with a processor, with an HMI, with the network itself. When you come in, say yes as much as you can. Say yes, be willing to go on site, be willing to work with as many people as you can. Find someone that you know, look up to, respect their opinion, whatever, that is willing to answer questions and do exactly what Stanley does, which is just harass them. Make them hate to see you coming with the amount of questions that you're going to ask. Because the best engineers, I mean, like we all like the engineers want to know how stuff works, right? Find out how it works. Like just spend all your time asking as many questions as you can, reading as much as you can, diving into the full. Like, don't if it's not your job, doesn't mean you shouldn't know how it should work. And being able to do your job better depends on that. You're always going to get people that know too much are never a problem.
It's, I mean, holistically, I think Stanley hit the nail on the head. It's the social aspect of things. I know we all do interviews. So when we're interviewing candidates, I mean, I gear myself differently. Like Stanley said, leave my pride at the door. When I'm interviewing somebody that's fresh out of college, my experience is a whole lot different. And my attitude towards the interview is a whole lot different because it's more of the, are you social? Do you have something that you're proud of? Because what I'm looking for as a hiring manager is somebody that's proud of the work that they do. It has an eagerness to learn. One of the key questions I ask people, which is silly, it seems silly, but in the automation field, the parallels towards the mechanical mindset become crucial. And it's a silly question, but I ask people like, can you explain to me how to change a tire on a car? What are the steps involved? How do you take the steps? The methodical approach. Because, it's the detail oriented aspect that really makes a good automation engineer. If you take the time to break things down into simple steps, your programming becomes a lot easier. I can evaluate that as somebody that is willing to take the extra time and take the extra effort to explain a process. And from that perspective, if you can talk to me about that in a social setting, then you're going to be able to talk to customers when it gets to a more in-depth problem, as long as you understand it. eTech has this generalized mindset that's a good thing, that we are all in sales. And the reality is that as a automation engineer, specifically in the systems integration side, you are the front facing aspect of the customer interaction. The way you present yourself, the way you communicate, the way you handle adverse situations really sets you apart from other people that can't do that. And that's going to make you a better engineer holistically, because you can deal with people at the office, you can deal with customers on the road, and you present yourself better in the way that we do our jobs.
Yeah, and to what Kyle's saying, right? If you can sell something and you can communicate it to a customer, the chances are that you can execute it as well, because you know what you're talking about. I'm going to go a little bit on a different track from what Kyle and Stanley were talking about, though, is, one thing that I would say that I'm looking for is patience. I know it's very hard, but what we're doing, there is no clear cut path to get from point A to point B. And so patience when you're learning those new techniques, or, learning new concepts, it's to understand the idea behind it. And then eventually you may not get it on the first try or the second try, but once it clicks, you can almost start applying that across the board of what you're seeing, kind of like what Chris was saying, was some of the best PLC programmers are the ones who know SCADA, the ones who know the process. So if you can understand that one concept and you can take those skills and apply it from point A to point B, and you're going to get there so much easier, and things are just going to really, really start to click for you. So that's what I'm looking for, is patience and ability to problem solve, and then somebody who gains a sense of fulfillment from solving those problems, because that's a big thing here, is if you're solving problems every day and you're not feeling fulfilled, or a sense of pride in the work that you're putting in, what's the point of solving the problems? So it's a big thing for me, is just, we're here to solve problems, but the point of it is to make yourself feel like you're moving the world forward, moving the company forward, moving yourself forward as you fix those things and as you put forth solutions to these problems.
Yeah, I think patience is very key dealing with the people in our group, especially. You have to deal with me on a daily basis. They're going to need a lot of patience. So, but
And an ability to understand sarcasm.
yeah, a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah, because there are no sarcastic engineers anywhere. That is get filtered out in the hiring process.
I've only seen Chris flip out once in the last year, so that's a pretty good ratio in terms of patience.
So we could take that offline. I've never flipped out. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a very laid back individual, as you can see. Like, I just got insulted by one of my employees and I didn't take it personal at all.
Building patience.
Always working on those skill sets.
That's right. So, you mentioned, the one concept we need to know in this job, Jordan, singular, that's all you need to know is one concept. Is
Just
there
one?
Yeah, just one. Is there, something that maybe we don't? Well, let me start over there. Do we let's talk about maybe some of the things that we don't have or don't associate with us. Like, what are the common misconceptions that people have approaching this industry that maybe are not common throughout, or maybe something you don't need to have before you come in, or you don't need to worry about when you get started? Kyle, that's a very vague question. I'm just going to kick it over to you, Kyle.
You're
Save
fine.
me.
You're fine. Holistically, I think the common misconception is that all we do is deal with machines. It's the aspect of what the benefits of the industry are. A lot of people get caught up in environmental impacts and everything else. But realistically, the way I like to phrase what I do for a living is that I make people's lives easier. Holistically, my wife tells people that I put soap in bottles. Nothing to most people. But the reality is that I enhance processes that make the lives of the operators easier, the technicians easier, and get the product to the consumer faster so that it can be put into use. Things that we do, things that we make. One of our key statements at eTech is, we do great things. We build great things. We do great things. We always adapt and go out of our way to make lives of people easier, whether it's customers, whether it's consumers on the end of the equation, whether it's on the building management side. What you guys do is pretty impressive because it allows for the day-to-day activities that we all use and take for granted to be a thing, to come to fruition. I put soap in bottles. It makes people's lives easier from doing their laundry, right? It's just, there's a lot of broad depth to the automation field that's not specific to just CPG, food and bev, MCT, colo, steel, gasoline, petroleum based solutions. All of your pharmaceuticals, everything has automation associated with it. Breweries and distilleries is a big one that's very popular and common right now. We touch it all, and you're going to get a lot of exposure in the automation field, and it's cool. It's a lot of fun.
Jordan, you've never been a very in-depth programmer, right? You've got a background in it, but you've gotten to sort of where you are by technical knowledge and know-how and being able to communicate and deal with customers on a daily basis. Would you say that every engineer has to be an A++ programmer? Every automation engineer, I guess?
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. If you can think logically and you can think sequentially and understand what needs to happen first, what needs to happen next. If you can stay organized, whether it be in your head, on paper, you can do what we're doing. Also listening. You have to be a good listener and understand that, you're going to get requests from customers that may deviate from what they have written down, but kind of what some of the folks earlier have said is the communication. And this is another part to it, is a good programmer will be a good listener and will appreciate what is being asked of you and why it's being asked of you, because you can make a push button, turn a light on. That's pretty easy. But to understand why the customer needs that could make the project go from good to great. And they could have many, many different reasons why they're doing it. But being a good listener, it sounds a little bit abstract when you're actually thinking about programming, but really being able to comprehend what's being asked of you and why you're doing it is pretty key.
So George is looking for patience and a good listener. So I'm not sure if we're talking about employees or friends.
A therapist.
They're okay, cool. Got it. Yeah. We're all looking for that. I mean,
you can teach hard skills, but that's at least the thought, right? Some of those soft skills, they can be learned, but you got to kind of cultivate them too. And so it's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah. And soft skills are great. But I will say, not every engineer, unfortunately, is going to have the best soft skills in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Some awareness is nice as well. Like you may not be. It took a long time early in my career for me to realize that people did not think I was as funny and charming as I thought I was. And so, that awareness kicked on pretty early on, being able to realize, the way I'm not the most patient person in the world. And so maybe I'll go on mute for 5 seconds before I respond, or I'm not the best listener, and so maybe I need to either transcribe what's going on or write it down or whatever, and just or work on it. Having the awareness to either to fix it or to adapt the way that you are with people, or the way that you solve problems is also a pretty key thing. But I cut you off, Kyle. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, the big key thing to remember too is be willing to go outside your comfort zone, whether it's hard skills or soft skills. Take a step outside of your comfort zone. If you're not the most social person in the world, take that step that's uncomfortable. Go outside with the mindset of, I'm here to socialize. I'm here to do the right things. I'm here to be the patient listener. I'm here to advise where I feel uncomfortable. Take those steps outside of your comfort zone, especially on the hard skill side too. Like everybody said, I think Jordan said it too. Like, be willing to take on tasks and challenges that are outside of your comfort zone, things you don't know. Like, I don't have any experience on the MCT or colo side, really holistically, but I would take the leap of if there was a need and somebody needed help, I'm going to step in and help where I can. Like you said, Chris, I was the same way. I didn't think I thought people thought I was funny and charming. And then I had a, wake up call where I was like, okay, maybe I'm not. That's okay. But you learn from it. You move on. So
Hi,
I
Garrett.
think you're very funny and charming, Kyle. Just so we're clear.
huge compliment.
Kyle, there is a need and I need help.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is not
uh,
we're not recruiting internal candidates, Stanley. Come on. So, Kyle puts soap into a bottle, which is, I do that about once a week in my kid's bathroom. Just so does that make me CPG food and bev as well?
it's a start. It's a good
Okay.
start.
Okay, thanks.
It gets you your foot in the door.
I don't
That's
know
the
how
final
I don't know
phrase.
how two children can waste so much water, soap, and
Is it
on a weekly
toothpaste as
basis.
well? Because that's where
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Jackie. Like you just walk in there and their sink is like this used to be a different colored sink and now it is just white
it's
foam.
coked.
What is happening here?
I feel
You're
that
not
they just squirt the bottle out. Somebody, you know what? We
Yeah.
should a new project for Kyle. Can we redesign the toothpaste container, please?
Yes.
holistically, that's not my department.
Oh, okay. Shoot.
I'm the guy that comes in when they tell me what I'm putting the product into, and then I,
Then you
make the
put it.
product go
All
in the
right.
tube. But
Well,
Well,
I'll have to
to
keep searching who I
you
can find.
yeah, I was gonna say find out whoever it is. I can volunteer a 6-year-old and 8-year-old as long as they want. Just
Just
take them.
see what happens.
Take them as long as you want to figure out how to make it so they cannot ruin toothpaste.
I think
Anyway.
most parents would appreciate this project that
Yeah.
we're taking on.
That's right. But so you do, food and bev. The rest of us, we're kind of got stuck in the data center space. We've gone kind of specialized in our advanced ages. Would you say that we're bored? We're doing repetitive work day to day, day to day. It's the same every day. I wake up and it's the same task, right, Stanley?
No, I would not say that. At least not on my project. Every day is a new adventure, a new fire to put out. So
we
Yeah,
get to
I definitely. Sorry,
do
go
cool
ahead, Kyle.
things. Oh, I was just gonna say we get to do cool things. I think it's parallel with all of our different what we call verticals, right? It's everything is different and ever changing. I started out doing distilleries,
Hmm.
and that was fun. Then I got into the CPG side of things. I enjoyed that. Did some material handling stuff, sortation and conveyance. Enjoyed all of that. Now I'm back to the CPG side and having a ball with it because it's new technologies and new stuff I haven't worked with before. Always changing.
Yeah, I remember. Actually, did not want to go specialized because I was afraid of doing the same repetitive thing. It's the same process, is it? But day to day, week to week, it changes so much. The advancement of technology, the advancement of the process itself. That what we were doing a few years ago looks nothing like what we're doing now, and it has been a significant challenge just to keep up with it. The change in clients, customers, building to building, that it has been enough of a refresher, enough of a challenge that it really keeps you going.
Well, and to piggyback off of that, since some of what I spoke about was a little bit more soft skills, I'll get a little bit more technical for you, Chris. But when at least when I started working in data centers, I thought, okay, you build this building, you do the building management system, you get out of there, it's done. But in reality, the advances in technology that you see in chips and what's required for cooling and power, that only requires us to further how we're cooling the building down more and the data hall space. And so, our customers are requiring new outside the box thinking from us on a daily, weekly basis. And so that's what I think is refreshing with data centers. And, I thought to myself, okay, I'm getting a little bit more specialized when I'm starting with this role, but it was refreshing to see the breadth of what we were doing and the new advances. Even as a building is being built, they're introducing new scope, which can be a headache, but it also keeps things fresh for you, and you're solving new problems.
So we did talk about this briefly a minute ago, talking about maybe what people should be looking for, but what someone that maybe doesn't have the degrees that we all have, or maybe did not go to automation school, but is looking to get into this industry, what advice do you have? Do any of you have, Kyle?
I think I think it's twofolded, right? If you are coming out of college versus if you are already in, call it the engineering world. So if you're doing like what Jordan was describing, sitting with an oscilloscope for 10 hours a day versus somebody that's coming fresh out of college, you're two different mindsets of how you're breaking into the industry. You know, the idea is that you leverage all of your experiences and you present yourself in the best manner you can with a good faith effort, right? But at the same point, I think we've all kind of hit on it over and over again. It's the willingness to learn and to be patient. You know, that's the easiest way to break into it. Having the interest and having the inclination to get into something that you're not comfortable with and learn it sets you apart from a lot of different people, but also being able to diagnose problems. You know, if you are more experienced in a different industry associated with engineering, whatever it may be, diagnosing problems, being able to walk somebody through the problem, even though, you know, I'm not a mechanical engineer, I understand the basics of fluid dynamics. But somebody that can come in and describe to me how a fluid dynamic related problem and how they resolved it sets me up to understand, like, hey, they're proud of the work they're doing and they want to get into more of the what actually took place to resolve it. So I can cater my experiences to relate to them and understand what they want to do. But at the same point, like I said, it's the willingness and patience to learn.
Yeah. And Stanley, you know, you and I have talked about this, and you know, we've got a couple other guys on our group. There are a lot of online resources people can use, right? There are a lot of different free online resources people can use to learn some core basics, maybe of the industry. Show some initiative before interview process to say, hey, I looked at this, I did all these things and did this, and you want to talk a little bit about that, maybe some of the stuff that you've done in the past.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I'd say Udemy or LinkedIn Learning. There's a lot of PLC programming courses, a lot of HMI programming courses. That's some of the stuff I did in my very, very early days joining an SI back in 2017. I think that helped establish a lot of the basics for me, but on the job learning and training and encountering these difficult,
Hmm.
unique situations from customer to customer, industry to industry, that's really what helped build on that foundation. I mean, I think as long as you're someone that's able to understand the process, understand the ask, the tooling portion of it can be learned. Again, as a chemical engineer, I mean, we take physics 1 and 2, but I wouldn't say my circuits knowledge is like super advanced. I mean, I still struggle today. I've pinged Jordan on the side several times about IO related questions. I mean, as long as I mentioned before, you're able to ask the questions, know where to get the help, and be able to speak up and know what your gaps are. That's going to help you in the long run. The long run, really. So, there's free stuff online specifically for the data center space. I came across, like, I think it was Schneider Electric's University, where they have a data center associate program. I mean, it's very detailed. So there's resources out there. You just have to have the initiative to go look and go through with it.
Yeah, and then you mentioned on the job training is the best. So I know what we do, Kyle. I'm not sure exactly what your group does, you know, to establish and develop, you know, and then help people get training on the job training or get training. But can you tell me a little bit? As someone who started for as an
Yeah.
intern, excuse me.
Yeah. So I started back in the day when we were small enough to where we didn't really have, like, call it organized training platforms, right? Now we have a lot of them. So the idea is that, you know, I don't know, eTech has always been big, even in the early onset for me on the mentorship and the training aspect, though, again, it wasn't formalized. I had a mentor, actually one of Chris's guys that we talked about recently. George was my mentor when I started 10 years ago. So, you know, George kind of walked me through the ropes, showed me some things. And then the biggest thing for me was always going to the customer site, seeing the equipment, seeing the processes. Granted, we were doing sortation at that time. So I wouldn't say it was mind numbing. I would say it was very repetitive for that one specific job, but it was good for a new hire co-op, call it full-time employee, to get to see that and get to troubleshoot very repetitive problems, because it got me exposure into, like, what Stanley was talking about, the, you know, IO related errors, digging in, figuring out what's going on. The other thing that's great, and I think I'm sure I can speak for all of us when I say this, your brain never really turns off when you're doing this kind of stuff. And there have been many nights at my kitchen table after my kids go to bed where I have a problem and I pull my computer back out and I just sit there and stare at it until I start figuring it out. I mean, that's how I learned PLC programming. I got thrown into a job through eTech where I was green. They were teaching me new skills. I wasn't a PLC expert, so I would pick a subroutine every night and sit there and rack my head against it until I understood what it was doing. Picking up, printing it out on a piece of paper, walking with a highlighter, understanding what the instructions were doing, really taking that step outside of my personal comfort zone to enhance my skills to be a better engineer. I don't know, there's a lot of different methods to on the job training, but the mentorship that we do at eTech, I find to be unique. Again, I don't have experience elsewhere to say that everybody else doesn't do it, but I think ours
Yeah.
is pretty robust.
Yeah. Meanwhile, your children were upstairs just getting toothpaste all over
Just
the sink.
everywhere.
So
Luckily, I
everywhere.
wasn't at that phase of life yet.
And then, but you mentioned George and you mentioned internship. That is something he's big into. That's something our group is big into. We try to have a direct boss for an employee, but then also someone, as I mentioned earlier, right? Find someone that you can annoy. We try to give them someone that they can annoy. Put an adult with them that they can follow around,
But an adult.
that they can ask questions of. Jordan and Stanley, you guys, you've been with us around a year. What are some of the, other than, just being thrown into the fire and told to figure it out, what are some of the other maybe resources that have been offered to you guys to help you develop?
So YouTube's a great one. I mean, it's so easy to say, but it's so easy to work with. I mean, there's thousands of videos out there. Even, you see robotics and you see equipment moving autonomously and you can see it in real life, and it's really, really cool. But there's plenty of videos out there if I'm going to start to promote, the Colo team a little bit, but there's plenty of videos out there that run through the building management systems for data centers and what's involved with it and the moving pieces that are there too. And so I would say somebody who's looking, to just kind of get started into it is, you don't know what it is, go to our website, see what services we offer, check out, okay, these are the industries we serve. Then Google those industries, automation in metals, data center, building management systems, and just watch videos and understand what it is. And then that can help you tailor your questions to understand what it is. And okay, I've seen that before. What is that big fan wall unit thingy? What is that doing? Right. And you can start to put a name to a face a little bit. YouTube's a big one. Like Stanley was saying, don't be afraid to ask the questions. There are no stupid questions. Sometimes, like I said earlier in the conversation, it's just one thing that you need to understand before something really clicks. And that could be the one missing piece. So don't be afraid to ask that question.
I mean, looking around the room, right? We've got some new hires that have been, promoted, that are, really have some opportunity for advancement, that are future leaders in our group. Yeah, Kyle, who started as an intern, who has really progressed and is now an engineering manager, has people of interns of his own, I'm sure. And then you've got, myself, who's about as incompetent as you can get, and I've been promoted a couple different times. And so it's very, I would say that there is opportunity for growth as well. A lot of opportunity for growth, a lot of opportunity for career advancement. It's something I feel passionate about. I know Jordan and Stanley and Kyle also do. That we want to see. We provide these tools not just because it makes our job easier, but because we want to see people grow. We want to see people develop. We want to see people beat us. Like I'm always telling these guys, you're probably going to take my job in a few years, and I'm happy for that. I take it, please. And anywhere you come into this company, there's an opportunity to really shine and to really develop yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to kind of wrap it up. I want to thank you guys for all being here and sharing a little bit about your career journeys. I'm going to do 2 quick rapid fire questions that I'm hoping you guys can answer. And they're always some of my favorite questions to ask, but we'll start with this. What if you could automate one thing in your life? What would it be?
Oof. Well, I was cutting the grass in 100-degree weather on Saturday, and I thought, I'm too old for this. Maybe that, or also basically any rudimentary task that prevents me from either playing video games or spending time with my children.
I was hoping you were going to say cleaning up the toothpaste.
I was going to say, I missed it. And you threw me an alley-oop and I missed the layup. But yeah, 100%. Cleaning my kid's bathroom. Holy cow. That's a hazmat zone.
I'm in a similar boat.
Don't have children, ladies and gentlemen. And if you do, don't make them be boys. All right.
I've got 3 of them. I'm too late. So, Jordan, go ahead.
What is one thing that I would automate? Diaper changes.
That's a good one too.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as I love my kids, diaper changes.
There's so many of them every day. Stanley?
I'd say having dinner ready by the time I get home from site
Okay.
because, I have a wife and stuff and she's pretty much stay at home full time, but she's busy. So if we could just have dinner made for us by the time I get home, that'd be great. So she can relax, I can relax.
Do you have a cell phone, Stanley?
I do.
Okay. So when we're done here, I want you to Google DoorDash. Just look it up. Just look it up. Your
Yeah, but
mind is going to be blown.
how do I do that without blowing my entire paycheck,
I can't help you there.
Yeah.
Kyle, what about you?
If I had to say anything, it'd be folding laundry.
That's also
Come
one I
on,
always
that's a good one.
Yeah.
3 hours yesterday folding laundry for my 3 kids and my wife and I. And I think folding laundry doing the laundry is not the hard part,
Getting
You
it,
toss it in the
putting it
washer, you
away.
set the tie dryer, an hour later you toss it in the dryer. It's the folding. Always the folding.
And then putting away, because if you're like me,
Yeah.
there's just baskets of clothes. That is their home
Yeah.
now. That's where they live.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't we all just like take it out of the dryer and throw it into a basket until we need it? I don't. What do you
Yeah.
What is
mean
this
fold it and put it
folding
away?
thing you're putting? And then the last question I have is, what topic would you like to see us cover on Beyond Tech for future episodes? Any ideas we should explore?
You just did an ITOT, right? You've
Yes.
done a couple of those.
Yes,
I think I have not seen, and yeah, I know you talked to Brian and
I did. Brian and Cam Rogers have one of the highest viewed episodes.
Really?
So
Yet.
just go ask them for an autograph before they start going on tour, because there's
All right, well, I had
Making
no
up-
idea we were tracking views, and now I want to start this whole thing over.
I'm sorry, that should have been something I covered before. But it's going to be great. Maybe this will be our new top episode, and you guys can be the one people are asking autographs from.
Yeah, you talk about, we talk getting into the industry. We could get a little bit more into career advancement. I don't know, it's kind of tough to do.
Hey, there are no bad ideas.
I know that no one wants to talk AI, but how AI is changing the space is eventually going to be something someone needs to figure out.
Yeah, it's impacting everything.
That's right.
I know it's an ongoing back and forth with, different technology platforms, but because I love it so much, and I know the MCT group does not always love it so much, I'd love to do another podcast on Aviva. See, I knew it. I knew it was coming. I knew somebody was going to say it, but Aviva, you either love it or you hate it. And honestly, transparently, I'd like to do both. I'd like to do Aviva and Ignition, generalized agnostic technology platforms, whether it is Aviva or Ignition, and the benefits of using those over the built-in ones like, Rockwell has FTView, Siemens has WinCC or whatever their newer version is, and utilizing agnostic SCADA and HMI platforms for your processes and what benefits they provide. That's a simple one, I think. So I mentioned that one before. I would like to do more partner sessions with Rockwell on certain technology platforms that we're exposed to. Hint, hint, MagnaMotion.
All right, I got it.
But the Aviva one and the Ignition one, I mean, those could be two completely separate episodes entirely, but I think that there's a benefit to both of them.
Yes. No, I appreciate the ideas. Anything, Jordan or Stanley, before we wrap up?
We done anything on robotics? That's not in my purview anymore, but I'm still interested in it.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I have not got an episode together on that, so
You did one with Stura, didn't you? For the lab
we did lab automation. So
yeah, I mean, it's not like industrial robotics, right?
Mini.
That's more,
Right. Or mobile autonomous robots is another one.
Yeah. I think we're working on one for around the Chick-fil-A project that I think, Kyle, you were on.
Nice.
Are you talking about the pallet, like the auto, the ARS system? ASRS? Sorry. There we go. I got it finally.
Yes.
The ASRS.
Stanley, any ideas you have?
Yeah, I mean, Chris kind of touched on it, but internally we've launched our AI steering committee, and so in a few weeks, maybe seeing where they've landed with some of the newer initiatives and testing that they've done to see how we're going to leverage AI more actively across eTech and what that looks like.
Yeah, that's a great idea. All right. Well, I appreciate the time you guys have given today. I've enjoyed talking with all of you and hearing about how you came into this career and eTech group, and I'm think I speak for everybody. We're all happy that you're on our team. So thank you guys for being here, and I'll let you get back to it.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.